I can absolutely knock Ilia Topuria out on the White House lawn.
How do you know that?
Because I know how crazy this game is. I know the power I possess. I know the skill that I have.
He
I know
possesses a lot of power.
Of course, he could knock me out also.
Right.
But there's no way to find out, and I also will. I just want the chance.
You want him?
Of course.
That's right.
Yeah, he's the champion. He's the champion. He finished Volkanovski, finished Holloway. If I could do it, it will be the best script. Then I will believe this is all simulation. 100%. Because that would it'll be crazy. And that's what I'm here for, to do something fucking crazy.
What if you win and you do it by knocking him out? Is that something that would make you retire as well? You said you would retire with a knockout loss. Would you retire with a knockout win?
I already let you get me in trouble once with money.
How is that trouble? How's that trouble? All they do is call you back and offer you more money to stay. I mean,
if I knock out Ilia Topuria, I'm sure I would keep fighting.
And if you lost by knockout to him, you would retire.
If I lost by knockout to a bicycle in between, then I would be done. Like I would not allowing myself to get these traumatic brain injuries.
And he drops his hand. He wants to throw his uppercut, and that moment, Ilia gonna overhook him and knock him out right away.
Right.
But he has no chin. Even like Perry, he touched him so easy, and he was bubbling. You know, his legs was shaking.
Yeah.
I'll just lay it out there. Ilia's striking is leagues above everybody.
Yeah.
Like just about everybody in the UFC.
Yeah, man.
You know, and the wrestling and jiu-jitsu is there as well. His timing, his instincts, his instinct to fire off in like his counterattacks.
Listen, if you really want to understand what makes someone like Ilia Topuria a nightmare inside that cage, you need to look beyond all the technical breakdowns and fancy combinations. What we're dealing with here is a different breed of fighter entirely. This man operates with this calculated violence that's almost surgical in its execution. When he sees an opening, he doesn't just capitalize on it. He destroys it completely. That's not just skill talking, that's the mindset of someone who was born to hold championship gold. Every movement he makes is deliberate, every strike carries bad intentions, and when you watch him work, you start to realize why so many people are already calling him the future of this division.
Right now, the Gaethje that fought Paddy won't beat Ilia right now.
Yeah.
But that's not saying that we'll see that Gaethje when he fights Ilia. Maybe that was just the game plan for Paddy to just make it doggy.
Honestly, I think it's the more competitive fight here because of how willing and how dangerous Gaethje is, to trade on the feet. This is a guy who's not going to be afraid of anybody. If he believes that the guy across from him is going to try to punch him or strike his way to victory.
Now here's something that's gonna catch people off guard about this whole situation. Justin Gaethje isn't walking into this fight planning to have some wild shootout like everyone expects. Those wars we've seen him in before with legends like Poirier weren't accidents or lapses in judgment. They were tactical decisions made against specific opponents in specific moments. Against a calculated killer like Topuria, you're going to see a completely different version of Gaethje emerge. This is a fighter who transforms himself based on the threat across from him. The scary part isn't just his willingness to engage in absolute warfare when necessary. It's his fight IQ and recognizing exactly when to flip that switch and unleash complete hell. Real champions don't just bring violence. They bring intelligence wrapped in violence, and they know precisely when to deploy both.
I think it's going to be a very, very tough fight for him if Topuria is in his peak form and mentally fit and able. I think it's going to be a tough fight for Gaethje, no question about it. But I think Gaethje will welcome that trade any day.
I'm the only one that knows how hard I work. I'm the only one that can trust in the preparation. I'm the only one that understands.
What Gaethje brings to this fight goes way deeper than what any camera can capture or any analyst can break down. This man has put himself through the kind of grinding preparation that exists in complete isolation. The work nobody sees, the sacrifices nobody talks about, the mental conditioning that happens when the world isn't watching. That's where his real edge comes from. You can analyze techniques and game plans all day long, but when that cage door locks and the crowd goes silent for just that split second before chaos erupts, everything comes down to who truly believes in their bones that they're meant to be there. That difference in mindset, that unshakable conviction in your own destiny, that's what separates someone who's just tough from someone who's genuinely championship material.
I've trained it since I was a small child. I've sacrificed everything to be in this position right now. And if I'm going to bet on someone or something, it's going to be on myself.
I can see him waiting for Ilia, which we didn't talk about that matchup. Early thoughts on that one. Fucking horrible matchup for Justin.
Yeah.
Horrible matchup for Justin. How he was eating uppercuts with Patty, and then how he doesn't avoid punches very well. He just kind of makes me like.
But even with all that mental strength and preparation, there's a harsh reality we need to address here. Gaethje's defensive habits. Those moments where he gets caught flush and keeps pressing forward against someone like Topuria, those aren't just bad moments. They're potential career-ending mistakes waiting to happen. His willingness to take shots to give shots might work against certain fighters, but Ilia isn't just throwing leather. He's throwing precision bombs designed to end conversations permanently. Every time Justin gets careless with his guard, every time he relies on his chin instead of his defense, he's playing Russian roulette with a loaded chamber. The difference between being remembered as a warrior and being remembered as a victim often comes down to those split-second defensive lapses, especially against someone who punches with the kind of accuracy and power that Topuria possesses.
Small box and his ability to throw punches and avoid being hit there and then land, make you miss, and then land again. It's bad fucking business for JG, bro.
No, Ilia's at another speed, another type of athlete. And Gaethje always has the same mistakes he's always made on the stand-up. He's still making them. You know, when he's lunging in, getting hit with those rights. Ilia does the same thing. He's going to cancel his career on the spot. He's going to put a stop payment on all that shit right on the spot. You know, I think Ilia will get him, Gaethje out of the round one type shit.
It was so funny. It was so funny when I was like legit, 100 people.
So when we break down what's really at stake in this fight, we're not just looking at speed and technique. Topuria operates on a completely different frequency than most fighters. His timing, his ability to see shots developing before they even happen, that's not something you can prepare for in camp. Meanwhile, Gaethje's patterns, those setups he's used throughout his career against someone with Topuria's fight IQ, those become predictable death traps. Heart and determination can take you far in this sport, but when you're facing someone whose mental processing speed is operating at a completely different level, being brave isn't enough anymore. Champions find ways to evolve beyond their comfort zones. Contenders keep running the same plays hoping for different results. This fight is going to reveal which category each man truly belongs in.
I was like, do we really have to do this? And I said to the whole media room, I go, does anyone in this room think that Justin Gaethje is going to win that fight? I said, the cameras are pointed at me. I said, no one's going to see put your hand up because the cameras are all pointed at me. Bro, of 100 of the media, of the UFC media people, not a single person put their hand up. And I was like, why do we... Well, I'm not being sad. I like Justin Gaethje.
Here's what's fascinating about the narrative surrounding this entire matchup. Walk into any room full of MMA experts right now and listen to what they're saying. They've already written Gaethje off. They see Topuria as this unstoppable force who's already proven everything he needs to prove. The media has essentially crowned Ilia before the first punch gets thrown, but this is exactly where the conventional wisdom misses the point entirely. In a sport where split-second timing and unpredictable variables can change everything, counting out someone with Gaethje's track record of defying expectations is a mistake. The man has made a career out of proving doubters wrong and creating chaos when everyone expects order. Sometimes the most dangerous fighter in the room is the one everybody's already counted out.
I would want him to do it in a more measured way, avoid the uppercuts better, the knees and stuff like that. But you think you're going to beat Ilia, moving back? I think the best guy who could do that is Max with his great footwork. And Ilia was able to find those low kicks and take out the footwork of Max Holloway and find the finish. So it's not a bad idea for Justin to think about pressuring.
Think you can survive against someone like Topuria by constantly backing up and trying to manage distance? Ask Max Holloway how that strategy worked out for him. one of the most technical strikers we've ever seen, a master of footwork and distance management, and Topuria systematically broke him down piece by piece. Started with leg kicks, disrupted Max's movement, then closed the distance and finished the job. Gaethje understands this reality on a fundamental level. He knows that trying to outpoint Topuria or play it safe is just a slower path to the same destination. So instead of retreating, instead of trying to be something he's not, Justin has to embrace what makes him dangerous. He has to force Topuria into the kind of fight where technique matters less than pure will to survive. That means pressing forward even when logic says to step back, because sometimes the only way through hell is straight through the middle of it.
But him versus Patty looked a little bit less, I think, less technical than we're used to. Like his performance against myself, his performance against a Tony Ferguson, his performance against Dustin Poirier. Some of these ones where it's like it's a little more traditional. Patty is not a traditional movement. He is not a non-traditional movement. A little bit herky-jerky, a little bit awkward, a little bit weird. Just weird is the only way to put it, right? And that can be effective in the sport of mixed martial arts, but when you have a guy who's a lot more technical, sometimes you kind of fall into that vein, so to speak. So, not because of the last performance, but
what most people don't understand about Gaethje's seemingly wild style is that there's actually a method to what looks like madness. Those awkward angles, that unconventional timing, it's not accidental. It's designed to disrupt rhythm and force fighters out of their comfort zones. Against someone as technically polished as Topuria, that chaos becomes a weapon. When you can't predict what's coming next, when your opponent refuses to follow the script you've prepared for, suddenly all that technical perfection becomes less reliable. The question becomes whether Topuria can maintain his surgical precision when everything around him is falling into complete disorder, or if he'll get pulled into the kind of firefight where anything can happen and usually does.
Offensively and defensively, Gaethje's willing to take one to give you a big one, and I think could be a critical mistake against a guy who hasn't been knocked out before, where Gaethje has been knocked out, right? So, and I think that's the only way he gets it done, because if he gets into a slugfest where he starts trading, I think the guy you're probably going to favor in that situation is probably the shorter, stockier guy in this one, who's shown to have bricks for hands.
I will say this, I do worry about Gaethje a little bit.
Here's the brutal truth about trying to trade shots with someone like Topuria. The man has never been dropped, never been hurt, never shown any sign that his lights can be dimmed by another human being. Meanwhile, Gaethje has been on the canvas before. He's felt that moment where consciousness starts to slip away. Against a fighter who's never experienced that vulnerability, who's never had to question his own invincibility, that becomes a psychological disadvantage that's almost impossible to overcome. It's not just about physical durability, it's about the mental edge that comes from being completely unbroken. Topuria steps into every fight knowing with absolute certainty that he's never been conquered, and that confidence becomes its own weapon, a psychological pressure that can break opponents before the physical violence even begins.
The Topuria fight will be a disaster. It's almost guaranteed. Topuria is not Paddy Pimblett. He hits like a truck. He's going to stay in the pocket. And it looks like, based on the way Paddy took those punches, that Ilia will be able to navigate through that. I just think that's a disaster fight.
And also, once again, big fan of Justin Gaethje. Unless the divorce ruins Ilia Topuria and we don't see him for a couple years, if he is a fraction of the guy who knocked out Charles Oliveira, he's going to kill Justin.
But here's where the experience factor starts to work in Gaethje's favor. This isn't the same fighter who used to just walk forward and throw bombs without any regard for strategy or timing. The patience he's developed, the ability to pick his spots and choose when to unleash chaos, that's the evolution of a fighter who's learned from every war he's been through. He's not rushing into anything anymore. He's calculating when to let that violence loose for maximum impact. And that undefeated record that Topuria carries, while impressive, it's also untested under the kind of sustained pressure that Gaethje specializes in creating. Being unbeaten and being unbreakable are two completely different things, and sometimes you don't know which one you are until someone pushes you past every limit you thought you had.
There's a lot of different attacks, good energy, everything. We saw in rounds, Justin was kind of looking at the clock at the end of rounds like, all right, how much is left? He paced himself like a veteran, guys.
Topuria's fights. I think people remember the end of them and sort of remember them as this like crazy one-way traffic, and the Oliveira one maybe was, but Holloway had success on the feet against him. Volkanovski actually had success on the feet against him. So it's not like he's just this crazy undefeatable guy. He's just got this unbelievable power. So I think like if Gaethje goes out there.
When Gaethje talks about making this a car crash, he's not talking about reckless abandon. He's talking about forcing Topuria into the kind of fight where all the technical advantages in the world won't save you. If Ilia gets pulled into that chaos, if he loses that clinical precision even for a moment, then every prediction and every piece of conventional wisdom goes out the window. But even if Topuria manages to survive that storm, even if he finds a way to weather whatever gads she throws at him, the cost of surviving that kind of war often changes a fighter permanently. Some things can't be taught in training. Some lessons can only be learned when everything is on the line, and the only choice is to find out what you're really made of when the world is burning down around you.
Gaethje fights over the past 8 years, like that man can pull anyone into a fight, and once he pulls you into his type of fight, all bets are off. He can beat anyone. He can land something crazy. He can compromise you. So if Ilia stays disciplined and fights technical, tough night for Justin. But if he can get him into his type of fight, I think there's an opportunity there.
Forget about Raw. The reality is that Gaethje's approach of walking forward and trading shots might have worked in other fights, but against Topuria's precision striking, it's essentially playing with fire while soaked in gasoline. This isn't about courage or heart. It's about survival against someone who doesn't just hurt you. He erases you from consciousness with scientific accuracy. The fighters who succeed against elite strikers like Topuria aren't the ones who try to out-tough them. They're the ones who force these technical masters to fight in ways they never planned for, who drag them into situations where perfection isn't possible, and adaptation becomes the only path to victory.
That no, you're certainly going to favor Topuria here, because when he lands the type of shots that Paddy did against Gaethje, the difference is people go to sleep.
But Justin, we got to clean up a lot, especially if Topuria is next. The dipping of the head, the keeping your chin up, the just walking forward recklessly. It's not going to work with a guy like Topuria, who looks for openings, who finds his angles, who has crazy power in his hands. Paddy was landing some great shots, great uppercuts, even that little switch jab uppercut.